Hey there, this is Wakeangel2K1, and this is the first of a series of toy review videos for stuff that I bought at New York Comic Con. The first is something that I never thought that I would actually buy, but, you know, when you find it for a good price, you just can't resist. Yep, the Figma Link. We are totally going there. The Max Factory booth had him for sale for only $40, which is cheaper than any of the other booths, and, well, you know, like, it's just so great getting him at that price and not having to pay shipping or anything. Just give $40, get figure. You know? Like, if you were to buy in any retailer that carries Figmas, he'd be like $60, but I got him for $40. I couldn't resist it. The box is really nice. It shows promotional pictures of Link and how he can be posed. All good stuff. All the text is in Japanese, of course, because this is an import figure. But, you know, that's all we need to know about the packaging. Let's get him out of there and see how this figure is. Out of the box, Link is looking like a very good representation of his Skyward Sword incarnation. That, of course, was the most recent Legend of Zelda title at the time of the release of the figure. So, the green tunic and pointy hat look is pretty much iconic and still there. And the only real difference between this and, say, the Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess version is the yellow pants. But, you know, like, if you're gonna complain about your superhero wearing pants, I don't know, there's just something wrong with you. So, like any Figma, Link is loaded with tons of lovely articulation. The shoulders have those wonderful joints, and there's room for a bit of a roll. See? Let's get it closer to the camera to show that off. The shoulder can roll around a bit. Which is kind of his bicep swivel. Although he still has a bicep swivel at the elbow joint, because it's also a Figma joint. He has a universally jointed hand. Can rotate and all that wonderful stuff. And his head is, of course, on another Figma joint. So he can cock it to the side inquisitively. He can look down. He can look up. And just in case the sculpt of that hat gets in the way, there is a swivel joint in the hat so that it can get out of the way. This is also especially helpful for when you peg in the scabbard, which we will be getting to a little bit later. The elbow bends about that far, which is a good for a single joint elbow. And he has a torso ball joint kind of affair going along. So you can get some roll, some crouch, some back lean. And his legs are barely impeded by the skirt. Like, this is actually a pretty clever thing they did. You see how the skirts are built? Like, it's like this rubberized material, but it's like two overlapping pieces. So that allows him to splay his legs out, and some more material is revealed without breaking the sculpt of it. See? And it all tucks into place and hangs very naturally. That's actually a really clever idea. And okay, when you sit him, it breaks a little bit, but like Link rarely sits. The knees get about the same kind of range as the elbows, and there is a bootcut swivel there. And the feet have excellent range. They go backwards, forwards. They have a really cool toe joint, and of course there are ankle rockers. So with those ankle rockers, you can put him into a wide-footed stance. Knock down your backdrop and all that stuff. And, well, you know, you can get Link into a wide variety of poses that he will be able to stand in if you weren't trying to balance him on top of a piece of foam board. But yeah, so your Link figure is very great and very, very posable. Of course, that's only an amazingly well-articulated and sculpted figure is only half of what a Figma is all about. So let's get into his plethora of accessories. So Link comes with a couple of things that every Figma is going to come with. There is an accessory stand. See how it has Figma written on it. with an articulated arm that can plug into both the stage and his back. There's even a little swappable piece. I'm not taking them out of the thing yet because I don't really use those. And of course he comes with a plethora of extra hands. Yep, you have splayed open hands, calm open hands, gripping hands, and angled gripping hands. So, including the fists that come in the figure by default, that is 10 hands. Of course, Link also comes with accessories that are very uniquely his and unmistakable, such as the Hylian shield, which looks freaking amazing. The silver paint and the extremely crisp tampography of the bird symbol make this an incredibly gorgeous Hylian shield. It also has the straps and handles on the back, and you may notice a bunch of peg holes. I will talk about that in just a moment, because next I wanted to present you with the Master Sword. Oh, yes, this is the ultimate weapon against evil. Check it. Check out every detail of it is absolutely amazing. It has the decoration on the handle, the guard. These are actually really sharp. The blade has that Triforce symbol etched into it, and that silvery, like, it has this vaguely blue silvery coloring, which is just amazing. This is an amazing sword, and it is really, really sharp, really put your eye out sharp. Like literally, I could draw blood if I pressed hard enough. This is sharp here. Yes, it is. And you can take the little knob off the end, which is helpful for getting it into Link's hand, which we will demonstrate in a bit. Link also comes with, like most Figmas, one swappable face. In this case, it is a battle cry screaming face, which even comes with its own hair. Yeah. The hair is slightly messier and more windswept than the default hair. Well, I'll do a better side-by-side comparison in a moment. We're showing accessories now. Of course, the Master Sword is going to need a Master Scabbard. It is a beautifully crafted scabbard with all the details you see from the game. It has the peg hole to stick into his back, and the Master Sword slides very smoothly and easily into it, and it only grips at the very edge, which is really fantastic. This just looks awesome. There is also an effects part, because you gotta have an effects part for dynamic posing. In this case, it is a slash. Shwa. It's like a motion blur energy slash thingy. Like when he gathers up the goddess power and then launches it, or just to sell a really quick motion effect if you put him in a sword swing pose. So those are all the accessories. Let's see how Link looks when he starts to arm some of them up. So let's get a close-up look of Link's handsome face. It is a very calm, slightly stern expression. The face of somebody who's looking down his destiny with not an ounce of fear in his heart. But, you know, let's do the swap. So what you do when you swap is, of course, you gotta pull his hair off first, and then the face comes out on a simple square peg, which shows that they use they use transparent clear plastic for the face peg. That's kind of weird. And then we swap in the new face. Here's a quick side-by-side. Here. So yeah, stick in his more screamy face. His battle cry face goes right in. And you put in his slightly ruffled hair, which also plugs right in. and you try to make it look good for the camera, but you know, you can't look at the camera screen and the figure at the same time. And now you have a very screaming battle-ready Link. You see, the hair barely looks different. Like, his sideburns are a little bit more windswept, I guess, but I don't know. I think they could have gone without this extra hair piece, or they should have at least made it look, like, wildly different. Like, if they're gonna make 2 pieces of hair that are virtually identical, they may as well have gone full on and made this, like, go flying upwards, like his hair looks when he's falling out of the sky to get on his loft wing, you know? So, with your screaming battle face equipped, you now have a Link who's ready for action. Like, they should have included an extra hand that had the Triforce glowing on it, so that you could have him screaming with the force of the power of courage in his heart. All right, but that's only one accessory. Now, if you want to equip his actual weapons, things get a little bit weird at this point, because everything is just so well fit that it kind of makes things feel really, really weird. For the record, I should note that this Link figure is totally ambidextrous. That is, every hand is mirrored, so if you want to have him hold the sword in his right hand so it's accurate to the game, then you can do that. If you want to have him hold the sword in the left hand, which is accurate to the lore, where Link has always been left-handed, then you can do that too. And as a southpaw myself, I always felt a certain amount of solidarity with Link being left-handed, so I always choose to put the sword in the left hand. So, let's equip his shield. Okay, so let's talk about the back of the shield here. You see, there's a handle, and there is a there's a strap. So let's say we want to put the shield in his left hand. You want to put the shield in his left hand, but the handle's on the wrong side. Well, you simply pull it right off. The handle comes right off, and it actually breaks down into individual pieces, like the two. Like, you can separate this, then you have the handle and the connector. Very tiny pieces. You do not want to be too willy-nilly with this. And you simply slide it over to the other side, and now you have a shield that can be held in the right hand. Nifty, huh? And the central strap also comes off. This can make it easier to put on his arm, but I think it's actually for a completely different feature, which I'll show you in a bit. So what you do to put the shield in, you gotta take off his fist and replace it with the straight grippy hand. And there we go. It is now strapped to Link's arm, and it is a very firm grip that he will not be letting go. The process of equipping Link with all of his accessories can be a little bit harrowing, given how tiny some of the parts are. Like, especially that little knob on the end of the Master Sword. But the end result is just frankly amazing looking. Here he is equipping it with one of those slanted hands, which allows him to raise the sword to the sky. Which is just fantastic. And this hand option also comes with other benefits. The slanted hand can also be combined with the effect part to make really convincing sword slashing poses. Like, that just looks like somebody just took a screenshot from the game and made it manifest, doesn't it? There's only one problem with the slanted hand, and that is this. If you just want a calm pose with Link holding the sword, it kinda doesn't fit. The sword is very long, as it should be, but with the hand extending it outwards like that, it just kind of looks weird, like he has to daintily lift his wrist to prevent the sword from dragging the ground. That's why I'm so happy they included a regular gripping hand, which can easily hold the sword just as well as it held the shield. It's a very, very tight fit, which just which means that the sword will not be flopping around in there. And when pushed onto his wrist, you now have Link holding the sword at a much easier to manage angle for non-dynamic, less actiony poses, which is all well and good. I like having that option. Alright, so there's one more thing you can do with the accessories, which involves having Link not using them. Oh, by the way, if you look on the back, item pouches, aren't those cool? They're very pretty. Okay, so as you all know, in the video game, when Link isn't using the sword, the shield, it's usually slung against his back. Now, how this is actually accomplished in the toy is really quite amazing. And what you gotta do is you gotta remove the strap and take the peg out. Of course, you gotta remove the peg from the hands altogether. And what you do is you avail yourself of 2 or more of the peg holes. You see, like there's like let's see, there's like 6 peg holes that the handle can go into, and what you want to do is stick it into the sideways ones like this. Then on the scabbard there is this little thingy coming out, so you simply push it up past its scabbard and boom, it hangs off of that little bump and allows Link to simply sling both the shield and the scabbard on his back. Ta-da! Okay, so the Link Figma. That is awesome. Okay, so let's get some comparisons in. So here is the World of Nintendo Link with the next to the Figma. And when World of Nintendo Link first came out, I, and a lot of other people, said that it was such a good figure, it felt like the Figma in miniature. And now that I actually have the Figma, I sort of still stand by that, because in a lot of respects, this really does feel like the Figma scaled down. Of course, this one still has a superior paint job and better soft goods for the tunic, so it doesn't impede the movement of his legs the same way that this one does. In addition to like having a way to hang the shield, while this one does not. But, and this is something that I discovered only after having the actual Figma in my hands, I realized that there is one aspect where this one actually beats this one out. There's one superior point. But we gotta zoom in order to see it. You see it yet? Let me zoom in a little more. I'm talking about this stuff. Link's chainmail armor, which has been a part of his design since Twilight Princess, and it's always worn underneath. If you notice, the chain links actually have their textures sculpted in on the World of Nintendo figure. On the Figma, it is not. It's just a smooth silver thing. There's no detail in the chainmail armor on the Figma. For a figure that's twice as big and 4 times the price, I'm surprised that they actually did not sculpt in that detail, while on this tiny, cheaper figure, they did. So I have got to give 1 point to World of Nintendo for having a better sculpt on Link's chainmail armor. I mean, in every other way, it's just a smaller, slightly less articulated version than the Figma, but that is one respect where the World of Nintendo figure managed to beat it out. So, good on you, Jack Pacific, good on you. Standing side by side with my other 2 Nintendo Figmas, we see that he actually blends very well with Pit and Samus. Pit being a head shorter than him and Samus being a head taller, which, given their respective heights in the fiction, actually makes quite a bit of sense. And speaking of scaling issues, remember when I was talking about my World of Nintendo Fox figure and was pointing out scales? The scale between the World Nintendo Samus and the World Nintendo Link is about the same as the difference between the Figma Samus and the Figma Link. So yeah, scale is preserved between these two, which is why they fail to fit into the rest of the World Nintendo line, because as I mentioned before, most of the World Nintendo line figures actually fit this scale as well. Yeah, so if you're hoping to build up your Smash Brothers display, you're gonna have to hope for yeah. What I'm trying to get at, that this Link figure scales with all these dudes for a Smash Brothers display. You know what? Let's get Sprue Kits in on this, because even Sprue Kits is has a pretty decent scaling for this kind of thing. Yeah, look at that. Take that. Yeah. You know what? I got a Sonic that matches scale. Sure, he may be an Android, but that's about the right height that he would be. Okay, so you can barely see Link anymore, and I think I've just about cluttered this pathetic little stage of mine. So I think that's where I'm going to end this. The Figma Link is amazing. I doubt you will be able to find it for 40 bucks like I did, but darn, it is just such a good figure. Like if you don't mind the expense of getting a Figma, then I can easily recommend Link because of his 10th degree of awesomeness. So this is Wakeangel2K1, and I'm signing off.